Hey all. So I wanted to touch on input manager just a little bit more because it occurred to me that we can expand upon this even further, so that we can actually have customizable keys. So going off of the previous input manager, we have keys that are bound. We can actually make it so we can actually modify these. And instead of doing physically bound keys such as this, we're actually just going to set these to a particular value. So we're just going to remove the actual keybinds that we use through Godot. And instead of using the keybinds like that, we are actually going to allow ourselves to bind these keybinds and adjust the key that it's bound to. So instead of defining it through the enumeration, we're going to make a separate dictionary that will allow us to bind these particular keys, keybind, basically set the keybinds actually to an adjustable key. So what we're going to do is basically copy what we have for our keybind states, and each one of these is going to be a separate keybind type. And then instead of having a key state type that we've just copied over, we are going to use the same keys that we have available here, that we previously defined up here. And what this is going to do is allow us strafe is A, strafe right is D, reload is R, jump is going to be space. We are now going to be able to adjust these keybinds, and this is going to require some modification. If we go back into our process method, previously we were accessing, because these were actually set to the key value that exists for Godot, we could just bind this straight to the key. However, these are no longer associated with a particular key, but it's associated with a keybind. So instead of using a cast, we are actually going to access the keybinds that exist and use the keybind type to get the keybind that we're associating with. So when we use an application quit keybind state, which is when we iterate through there, we're going to get each keybind state. This is now going to be associated with a particular key. So when we access application quit, it's going to access the escape key when we index into the keybinds. And what that allows us to do is we can actually make a function that lets us set keybind. And now we can take this and do keybind type, and a key. And now this lets us actually set our new keybind, sub keybind type equals key, and it's always good to have proper spacing. So now what this does is this allows us to reset these binds. So if we want to, this is pretty common across all video games, where you allow players to adjust their keybinds. So for example, maybe a player wants to use arrow keys instead of WASD. Maybe they want to use up, left, down, and right arrow keys instead of using WASD. Maybe they're a right-handed player and they use the mouse with their left hand. Who knows? But this allows you to actually modify this, and you can actually write these out to a file. I'll do a video on writing out keybinds to like a text file that you can import. These would be your default keys, and then you could write them out to a file on exit, so that way you can load in those particular keys. But this allows players to basically modify what their keys are, so that you can give them full customization of what they want to do. And essentially what this does is we're just going to reference the application manager that we previously had. This lets us do input manager dot set keybind, and for simplicity's sake, we're just going to alter our previous application quit type application quit. And we're just going to set this simply to the key p key, just for simplicity's sake. So previously we used escape to close out our application. If we go back into our Godot scene, and we hit play, and we hit escape, escape is no longer bound to our quick key. However, if I hit P, it closes out our application now. And if we remove this, it would go back to using the escape key, which basically gives you modification to allow people to rebind their keys. So if you had a UI element that said, like click a key, set key based off of whatever they push. So if I hit escape, closes out this application. So it lets you modify these particular keys, and I will go over adding in file writing and reading on a separate VOD. I'll put the link down below. But this will allow you to modify the keybinds that you happen to be using, so that players can modify whatever they happen to be touching, which gives them full customization over the controls. So I hope this helps and extends on your input management, and should be much nicer than having predefined set controls. Cheers, dudes. Hope this helps.